SA Sports Show. Thanks for staying with us. Our expert from the SANFL, Luke Marchioro, joins us. Luke, it was an interesting weekend of footy, mate.
It was a really important weekend. The top six sides all played against each other in some form, and we got a bit of a clearer idea of where the finals and everything will start to shake out now as well.
Mate, you were across 3 games on the weekend. I want to ask you about this one first. So, Port Magpies, Westies. I know it was the Sunday game. We don't normally start. We start with the last game first, but it was a terrific game. You know, the Russell Ebert tribute game. Well done by the SANFL. Can we see that? Clubs. By both clubs, absolutely. Yeah. But it was a ripping game. There was a chance there where in the third quarter it looked like Westies might come over the top.
If you'd have turned the TV on 10 minutes after the start, you would have seen Westies were 4 goals down and probably thought they're in for a long day. But they actually battled back really well. Their leaders stood up, Tom Keogh, Caden Brand, Josh Carmichael, who will probably go in the mid-season draft. But those guys really stood up for Westies and they got themselves back into the game. And ultimately, that bit of their AFL experience and class in Dersma and Dixon was probably the difference in the game in the end.
Yeah, he needed to run. He needed the form, if you like. Dersma, he's had a bit of a rocky road. Injury.
Yeah, and the sub as well. And Port have got a few in that boat. I think Lockie Jones is another one that probably just needs some continuity in his football as well.
Yeah, so that's true.
It happens with a lot of those guys, but it was a really great occasion to get nearly 4,000 people there on the weekend, and the way they built it up in the community. And we've got a few more games like that in the second half of the year in Whyalla as well. So with North Adelaide playing the Crows, so be some good occasion games and take the footy out of the country is a good result.
From what I've heard, and I don't know whether this is right or not, Luke, but are they going back there next year to maybe to Waikerie?
I think the plan is to play annually now, so play 1 year in Loxton and the next year in Waikerie.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good initiative by both clubs. And I think we're going to see more and more of it, I think, coming out against those AFL teams especially. So North play in Whyalla against the Crows in a few weeks' time. We saw Norwood playing Port Lincoln against Westies earlier in the year as well. So take those games out into the regions and expose the SANFL out into the country and continue to grow those games. I think it's a good result.
Well, it's an interesting one with the Riverland with Russell, because Russ started in Waikerie and then the bank. I don't know whether he was a job in the bank. You got to come to Loxton just to play footy. I mean, it was never anything else. Not because he was a good banker or a good teller. Matter of fact, he was the worst teller I've ever seen in my life, Russ. But that initiative, I congratulate West Adelaide.
Yes,
because you don't have to go down there.
No.
They don't really have to go down there, but they saw the occasion and whatever, and they were behind it. From what I hear from the Port Adelaide people, they were behind it 100%. Not just down there for a game of footy.
Fantastic.
They really got amongst it.
And I think for the AFL clubs to buy in and support as well, really important. Like Port are bringing a guy back like Charlie Dixon. You don't want to send him out. You know, Loxton. You might be a bit apprehensive about the ground or the change room. So for them to go down there as well, I think it's a really good initiative and well done by the league and everyone involved.
Good on them. Yeah.
Hey, mate, I bumped into you on Saturday, of course, because you're at the Sturt North game. We just had Jacob Surgeon and having a chat with him. I'm interested in your take, mate. Sturt got him in the first quarter, and then it was pretty much door open after that. North are explosive when they get going.
They were fantastic, North Adelaide. I thought they played really, really well, especially after quarter time. Their midfield just got on top, and their leg speed seemed to give Sturt a few headaches. Sturt have got those slower inside mids in Wilson and Battersby, and then North on the outside, and getting the ball in quick to their forward line, which has been really dynamic this year. They've got, I think they had 6 or 7 multiple goal kickers on the weekend, and it's been a hallmark of their play this season.
Mate, if you look at the game, I'm always interested in talking to people after the game because they get a look at the stats and they say who kicked the goals, who did this, and they had 8 or 9 goal scorers at North. So, but for mine, Harvey and Coombe were probably the 2 best players on the ground. There are a lot of other guys that played really well. Who did you think? Who stood out for you?
I thought Harvey was fantastic. At quarter time, you could really feel that Sturt was probably on top in the clearance battle. Their young ruckman was jumping all over Harvey, and they made an adjustment at quarter time, and you could really see it. They I think they were plus 20 in clearances after quarter time because Mitch was getting first use of the footy, and they put Campbell Coombe onto Paddy Wilson at stoppage. Wilson had 13 in the first quarter, only had 2 in the second quarter, and North kicked 6 goals to nothing and basically put the game away in that second term.
He's a McGarry chance, haven't we?
Coombe?
Wilson. Coombe,
Coombe.
No doubts about that. He's already won one, hasn't he, Coombe?
He has. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying, though. But so you've got a McGarry medalist that's not interested in his stats. That's why I bring him up, because I think he's a unique beast in that he could go out and get 30, 40 touches every game, but they give him the assignment to shut this guy down, and he just goes and does it. Yeah. Now, when you're shutting someone down, often that's not going to get you Maghera medal votes.
He sneaks up on you. He had 32 disposals in the end on the weekend, I'm pretty sure. But his ability to take the opposition's best midfielder out of the play is probably the most important thing that he's got. Especially with North, they've got a lot of these free running guys through their midfield in Young and Wigg and Spina. So to have someone that does that defensive work is really important. And then their forward line is so dynamic. Nigel Lockyer and Jacob Bauer, every time the ball goes in there, you think someone's going to take a mark of the year with those two guys.
That's Norwich was pretty. Hey, mate, we need to get on next week's games because there's a couple of really important ones. Sturt, they've up against the Eagles at Wigan Oval. It's a big game.
It's a massive game for both teams. The Eagles are 4-3. Jade Cheetah probably threw the tape out from Friday night. I don't think there was much he could have done against the Crows on Friday. That was basically an AFL side that they trotted out on the weekend. So the Eagles will be, hoping to build on that. And it's a big game for them if they lose. They're 4-4, and all of a sudden they're under the pump. And Sturt will be looking to bounce back. They've got a bit of a tricky month. They play the Crows and Glenelg the 2 weeks after that. So all of a sudden 5-1 can become 5-5 pretty quickly for them. So it's a big game in terms of where those teams sit in the finals race.
South Adelaide and West Adelaide. South Adelaide were disappointing on the weekend. That's a disappointing result for them because they were been in pretty good form. I thought they were good against Norwood. They were, they looked good. They weren't. They were ordinary on the weekend against Glenelg.
They were competitive in that game. Glenelg probably have just done that over the years and just found a way to win. And for South Adelaide, it's really important that they win this weekend just to stay in touch. If they fall back, they're all of a sudden they're 2 games out of the 5.
Right. That's right.
And Westies, if they play like they did on the weekend, they're going to be pretty tricky to beat.
Is that South Adelaide? Yeah,
it's at South. Yeah. But they are building quite nicely. Westies only lost by 3 points against them last year down there. So it could be a good game of footy, that one.
Mate, the Friday night game, Norwood up against Adelaide. Norwood need to get a win. It's going to be tough too.
Norwood just scraped by against Centrals last week. That game was a goal of difference at 3/4 time, and Norwood just had to win that game. And against the Crows this weekend is going to be really challenging for them. I don't see them winning that game, especially if the Crows are trotting out 18 or 19 players and Riley O'Brien and these types have the influence that they've got. But Matty Panos is on the way back for Norwood, and potentially after that mid-season bye, if he comes in, they might be able to do what Sturt did last year and get rolling, win 5 or 6 in a row and build a bit of momentum in the second half.
Mate, look, it's always a pleasure to get you in here, mate. You're on top of everything happening in the SANFL. We appreciate your time, mate. Know you're a busy man. Thanks for coming in. Stay with us. Just a couple more things to come.